Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So today is the big FOMC press conference day. So Bitcoin, crypto, markets, await the outcome. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Well, let's discuss what else is going on in the world, because there are a lot of things going on in the world. So let's do it. Let's do it, guys. Welcome. We are starting out a day a little bit under 104. We're touching upon that trend line once again. Oops. As you can see there. Overall, a little bit about the same as yesterday, although the alts are getting a little bit weaker. Retail right now is just not feeling it. Institutions, they continue to load up on Bitcoin, but retail gets more scared, it seems like, every single day, and the alts are trending down little bit every single day. Retail needs to stop it, basically. These, as you will see, more and more institutions and public trade companies are embracing Bitcoin and buying more every single day. But we're just not seeing that kind of strength with anything else outside of Bitcoin right now. But you know what? That could be for good reason, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. Right now, the U.S. market is opening up kind of mixed. Again, today's big FOMC day. So people want to hear about what Powell thinks about the economy, about inflation, about the war, because this is now new, and how he plans on saving the U.S. Going forward, right? That's kind of the theme here. If you're looking at stocks, basically near zero. Robinhood and Circle up a little bit. MicroStrategy, Coinbase down slightly. It could definitely turn. But of course, the big thing that's happening right now is the war. And the U.S. may be pulled into it. Trump weighs if the U.S. needs to join this war and, demanded unconditional surrender with Iran, right? So this was out yesterday. I talked about this last night, and Iran is threatening, hey, don't do it. Don't do it. It could cause some real damage if you do. I mean, of course, they have to say that. So I don't know. Like right now, the U.S. is deciding whether or not they're going to be pulled into the war. And I don't think anyone wants that. No one in the U.S. wants to be pulled in this war. It's not going to help us in any way, and it's going to cause more disruptions and more uncertainty. And that's a big thing that Powell has to talk about today. He's going to be asked about it. And, I don't know if he has anything good to say, because he doesn't know. He's not privileged to this kind of information. Right? And if we do go in, we're going to be using these bad boys, although these have been around for 30 plus years. So we may even have something better than a B2. But these bad boys, stealth, dropping 30,000 bombs, 30,000 pound bombs. Yeah. I don't think we want to do that, but still, the situation is up in there. So this is, of course, causing hesitation with the markets. Although, I got to say, if you consider it, it's actually pretty tame. Again, I made this analogy. If you look at when the Ukraine and Russia war started, or the conflict started, markets tanked hugely. Oil prices skyrocketed. So it's a little bit different now. And I'm guessing analysts think that either we're not going to go to war, or this war will come to an end much sooner than later, right? That's how I'm interpreting it. Otherwise, I think the markets would drop a lot more. And even oil analysts, I guess, don't know what to say about oil. Yes, oil has gone up for about a week. It kind of stayed steady. It's staying steady now. And these analysts are like, yeah, we can't even make any accurate predictions of where barrels of oil will go in terms of pricing. You know, it's like everyone's kind of just like waiting for more information. That's the reality of the situation. It's like, you know, we need more. We need more at this point before we could give accurate predictions about anything. So it's gonna make this guy's job, Fed Chair Powell, it's gonna make his job super difficult today. You know, it's already priced in that we will not get a cut. 99.9% chance we're not going to get a cut. Okay. So we're not going to get one. But that's not why people are going to be tuning in. They want to hear, you know, his thoughts during the Q&A session, his thoughts about the next one. And the next one, meaning like the next FOMC meeting in July, which now there's a 14% chance of a cut. And then the one in September. And what about the ones after that? Because he originally stated that he wants to do 2 cuts this year. So is the first one will come in September, and what about the next one? And, you know, is he going to stay with that schedule? Is he going to decrease it, increase it? What does he think about oil prices? What does he think about the war? What is that going to do to inflation? You know, because obviously oil prices going up is not a good thing. It makes everything more expensive. It's going to add to the inflation, and the tariff situation isn't over. A lot of the extended deadlines are about to come to an end. And, you know, again, all this, one on top of another, on top of another. I don't know. I don't want to be this guy. I do not want to be this guy. I did not envy Powell. He's going to be asked some difficult questions. And he has to really tiptoe around what he says. He can't really just like, you know, say what's on his mind, because if he did, markets would tank to hell. So he has to tiptoe around what he says too. But we'll see. It's going to be an important one, guys. And it's coming around 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's usually around then. That's when it comes out. 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central. Okay. We'll see. Doesn't have to be bad, though. I know it sounds all bad, but what he says could be interpreted good, because maybe under pressure of Trump, under pressure of war, or just under pressure of everything, his legacy, maybe he turned dovish. And he's like, you know what? Despite all these things, I'm more inclined to cut sooner than later. I don't want things to get out of control. He could say some good things. He hasn't in the past. He hasn't really been that dovish, but maybe now he will. And it's in the best interest for the nation for him to cut too. The U.S. go save a whole bunch of money on new bonds issuance, and, you know, Americans will save a whole bunch of money on, say, homes and cars and everything else in between. I don't know. Maybe he says good stuff. Who knows? We just have to wait a few more hours to find out. All right. What else is there? Well, speaking of Bitcoin, like I've been saying, Bitcoin is holding strong because you have so many people that believe, and so many companies now FOMOing in. You have DDC Enterprise secures $500 million, $528 million to expand Bitcoin holdings. Again, every single day you hear about this. Every single day you hear about something else. You have another Bitcoin-related company called Fold Bitcoin. Secures $250 million. Plans on expanding their Bitcoin treasury. I mean, again, come on. The blockchain group purchased another $20 million in Bitcoin. Does this sound familiar? K33 to buy 1,000 Bitcoins after raising $8 million. Coinsilium raises $4 million. or will raise 4 million after a 400% demand overload to Bitcoin purchase offering, right? This is the reason why Bitcoin is so strong. Yeah, we have these little dips now. Yeah, we fell down from 109 to 104. Yeah, we have these like little dips, but certainly not as volatile as the 2021 or previous dips where we saw like minus 10%, minus 15% all the time. Beforehand, even worse than that, minus 30% dips. The reason why, with all this going on, there are so many that are turning in Bitcoin because of all the bad things that's going on, because of inflation, because of war even, because of financial instability, everything. People are now starting to believe that this is the right path rather than just go all in on cash, which does no one good, or go all in on gold, which takes decades to see gains. The best thing is Bitcoin. That's the reason. Here's another one. Bitmine, which is, a big... Is this the same one? Oh, no, I was thinking about Bitmain. I'm sorry. I was thinking about Bitmain, but Bitmine. But this is New York. This is a public trade company, too, on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay, purchased $16 million for the Bitcoin. Endless. We get used to Sailor and Metaplanet buying like 100 million or $1 billion of the Bitcoin every week. But these smaller companies, their purchases are adding up too. And now Bitcoin, here's an interesting stat, is 1.3% of the global money out there. 1.3%. That's so small. That's so small, but yet significant. It's not like 0.13%, not even 0.3%. It's over 1%. But if you look at it, man, we got long ways to go to even catch up to gold or fiat in general. And this doesn't even count like other things, other assets, like real estate and stuff like that. We're getting up there. You don't want to wait until Bitcoin's like 10% of the global money supply. Then Bitcoin will be at over $1 million each. Okay, you don't want to wait for that to happen. You want to accumulate as much as you can beforehand. And here's something else too. If you look at the bear markets, the last two cycles, you saw activity go down. Like active addresses really go down, right? It makes sense. A lot of people get out and so forth. Right now, we're not seeing that. We're seeing addresses go up. Despite the fact that Bitcoin's price has been steadily climbing because of institutions, retail, still hasn't really come into the game. But we're starting to see that change. We're starting to see an upward trend. So if we combine retail with institutions, that would be great. That's what we want to see. We also have this inverted head and shoulders pattern that we may be completing soon. And if so, that's how we get to our next leg up. Yeah, so looking forward to it. Today, the FOMC meeting, that could be big. One way or another. It could be good or bad, or it could be neutral too. I don't know what Powell's going to say. I really don't. I would not want to be him. Anyways, outside of Bitcoin, we do have other things going on. Here's something interesting. There's a new alliance called Global Markets Alliance that is being founded by Solana, BitGet, Jupiter, Trust Wallet, Rainbow, BitGo, Fireblocks, 1inch, Alpaca. These guys have come together. They have formed a global market alliance, and Ondo. And basically, they're going to help people, come onto the blockchain and tokenize their assets. That's interesting. That's interesting. You got some big players here. Big players. You know, most of what's happening with RWA right now is involved with like treasuries and financial products. But you know, it would be awesome to see other things come into play that are being tokenized. We just haven't really seen much of it. A little bit with real estate. Haven't really seen anything else. But, you know, financial products, very, very hot. And there will be more coming. Even JPMorgan is doing their own. They're launching their own JPMD token on top of Base. And it is a tokenized commercial bank holding. A lot of people thought that this would be a stable coin. But no, it's a deposit token that will represent a commercial bank holding. Is there a need for this? I don't know, but they're going to launch it anyways. And by the way, JPMorgan also does take Bitcoin ETFs as collateral now. So I don't know, next time, if you want to get a mortgage, you know, and you have to prove all the holdings, the assets you hold, Bitcoin ETFs now count. You know, from a company led by a guy that really hated Bitcoin and crypto altogether, now, you know, they have really done a 180 if you think about it. But, you know what? They're all going to do 180. All the naysayers will do a 180 eventually. There's really nothing else you could say at this point. Bitcoin is global, and it's not going to be stopped by any nation or anyone out there. And blockchain is going to continue to thrive. The Stablecoin Act, which did pass yesterday, is going to change things. Although, I did mention, a lot of people don't talk about this other thing. So now that the Genius Act passed Senate, it has to go to the House. The House has their own stablecoin bill called the Stable Bill. And the two are similar, but there's several key differences. So now, I don't know how they're going to decide. Basically, they have to take bits and pieces of both and try to combine it, or, you know, they try to pass this one or try to pass the other one. There are two stablecoin bills now, so we have to see which one comes out on top. But regardless, one or the other or a combination of the two will pass, and that'll be good overall for the entire nation, especially good for stablecoin issuers and any DeFi projects that of course involves stables. So, yep, that's how it's going to be. All right, let's see. The U.S. market has turned green, not red, despite all the scary stuff. Speaking of stable coins, I mean, look at Circle. Circle just is not stopping. This one more, I mean, every day I look at Circle, I'm like, man, I don't want to FOMO into Circle because it just keeps going up and it's not stopping. It just keeps on going up every single day. Strategy's down a little bit. Robinhood's up a little bit. Robinhood has been extremely strong. And then also Coinbase, a little bit up. I mean, today is not shaping out to be bad. Bitcoin is still slightly down, but you know, you got a lot of alts down. We got too many scared retail people. That's the thing. Whenever there's something scary, now you got retail just dumping all their alts. That's the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing. Bitcoin remains strong, but alts continue to get weaker, and it kind of sucks because retail is not believing nearly as much as before. And that's unfortunate. But things will come back. At least the good projects will. Because retail likes to FOMO too. Usually towards the top. So we will get a recovery. We will see things come back. I guess we just have to wait a little bit longer for the alts. All right. let's do some Q&A. All right, let's see what I missed here. Let's see. People do not like JPMorgan. I see that. People do not like war. People do not like Powell. No surprise there on any of those things. What happens, Matthew asks, this is a legit, serious question. What happens if the U.S. enters the Middle East conflict? Nothing good. Nothing good at all. We'll probably force Iran to surrender very quickly if we start bombarding them with bombs. But it's not going to be good for us. A lot of people don't support this war. A lot of people, certainly no one is supporting the U.S. to enter the war. We're going to be wasting a whole bunch more money that we're not supposed to. The whole point of Doge and other things were to cut, to stop the spending, not increase. War is not cheap. We will be spending more than anticipated. It's going to hurt us more because we need to issue more bonds. We need to borrow more money. And rates are sky high right now. So it's going to cost us more with interest. So financially, it's like the worst thing we could do right now. We are in a bad situation. This is the reason why Trump is begging Powell to cut rates, cut it a full percentage, because we are going to pay hundreds of billions of dollars of interest, just interest alone, because we have to issue more bonds. So many are maturing. We need to issue new ones to pay them back. And the new ones that we are issuing are at a much higher yield. That means we have to give more. And also, it can, a lot of people don't talk about this, but in situations like this, it also puts banks under a lot of pressure because banks hold a lot of treasuries. And the treasuries they hold are underwater because the new treasuries give out more yield. That means they can't really sell their bonds because they're worthless. They're underwater. Who wants to buy a 30-year bond paying 3% when you can buy a new 30-year bond paying 5%? So it actually puts a lot of banks at risk. All the requirements that they're supposed to have in place, a lot of them are probably underwater right now too. And I bet Fed Chair Powell's keeping that on a down low right now. Rake him up. Appreciate that super chat. No question, but I appreciate it. Clifton says, what if we're not spending, instead selling our weapons to allies and not net loss but net gain? That's what we have been doing. Where do you think Israel got all its weapons from? Same thing with Taiwan. Like Taiwan and all these other nations, they have all these weapons from us we've been selling. A lot of people argue that this is the reason why we don't want the Ukraine war to end, because who's benefiting? On one side, you hear about a lot of politicians say, well, we sent 40 billion or 100 billion or whatever to Ukraine, right? And we should never have sent that. But you got to think about it. Where are they purchasing all their weapons from? as soon as they receive that $100 billion, what do they do with that money? They give it back to us because we're selling them weapons, right? To our, basically, our Defense Department, wherever, you know. So that's the thing. A lot of this like politics stuff, politicians will make you think one way, but you gotta really think like the true reason why things are done. Wars are very expensive, but they're also very profitable for companies or nations that are supplying the weapons. Proxy wars, basically. And there's always some angle. You know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know, so again, I think that's a good way to put Ukraine. Larry, what's the word on SUI and XRP? There's nothing new. Same things. XRP is still waiting for a spot ETF. They're going to get a spot ETF in Canada. You know, they're still trying to expand out their RLUSD. There's Cardano integration. There's a whole bunch of stuff. SUI is still doing their thing. I think after the hack with CETUS, they became a little weaker, but nothing's really changed. The ecosystem is still doing fine. You can't really judge, okay? Like having a few weeks of down, you can't really judge like them differently. Because I feel like that's what you're trying to do, Larry. They're still the same great projects, but instead, you have a lot of retail investors panic selling, and that's the only difference. Can Pacers make a comeback? I don't know, but Halliburton is getting, you know, lashed out upon. Because he made some, you know, he made some good shots against the Knicks, but now he's just faded away to like nothing in this series. He's buckling under the pressure. Siakam is actually the best player on the team right now, and a lot of people are going after Halliburton, saying he's not a superstar, he's not even a star, he's folding under pressure. I feel bad for him, but you know, maybe he could turn around if he has a fantastic game and win Game 6, and they go to Game 7 and they win, and he has another fantastic game, that could change things around. But Game 3 and 4, Halliburton was nowhere to be found, like completely in the shadows. Praveen, where will the U.S. get all the money to go to war with? We don't have the money. We don't have any money. That's why we're $36 trillion in debt. So where do we get the money? We issue more bonds, and hopefully other countries buy them, or we just print the money. We just say, screw it. We'll just go type more zeros in the computer, and it gives us more money. And with that money, we can buy, you know, whatever we want. But, you know, what that does, that causes inflation to go up. So that's how we operate as a nation. This is why Bitcoin is so important. This is the exact reason why Bitcoin is so important. It might sound like a joke. It may sound like this can't be the way a country operates, right? Like there's no way in hell that a country could operate like this where, okay, if it doesn't have money, which it doesn't, It either prints more money or borrows more money. And we keep trying to lift the self-imposed limit on how much our debt could be. But that's the reality. With all the smartest guys on Wall Street and all the derivatives and things that they can come up with for products and instruments and all that stuff, like things that I can't even come close to understanding. That's what caused the 2008 bubble, the housing bubble, with all the mortgage-backed securities and how they package it and all this stuff that they do. With the most brilliant minds out there, we can't solve how our monetary system, policies, we can't solve any of it. And we keep going deeper in debt. Rocket. Rocket, cool, man. Although I appreciate it. It's funny. Man, Circle needs to stop it. Circle is just, you're just like, I feel like you're setting yourself up for a big fail if you FOMO into Circle right now. But one way or another, a stablecoin bill is going to pass, the Genius or the stable or a combination, and people are really, 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 really excited about Circle. I mean, if you look at their market cap, it's 35 billion. It's about half of Coinbase, so I guess technically there's there's room to grow, but still, it's been so hot. I'm looking for a down day, and there's just no down day for Circle right now. At this point, who cares if we add to the debt? It's already in clown world. Yeah, that's just how it is now. The new big, beautiful bill that Trump is trying to pass will lift our debt ceiling by 4 trillion, I believe. 4 to 5 trillion. Now everyone's paying attention. Back in the day when we had 10 trillion, 20 trillion in debt, it's like, okay, it's worrisome, but not that bad. Now we're closing in on 40 trillion, and soon, maybe 100 trillion. When is it all going to collapse upon itself? It's kind of starting with the yield on our bonds. It's not looking good. Where's the 30-year? Well, they got a 30-year mortgage, 70, almost 7%. What was it? Where do you see the bond rates at? Oh, your bonds. Let's see, 10-year bond. $4.35. I guess that it came down a little bit. It was at 4.5, and the 30-year was like 5%. It's not a place we want to be. It's definitely not a place we want to be. Levi, am I being bombarded with questions on Ask George? No, surprisingly. I think too many people are lazy or they don't want to show their face. I want more creative questions. Go here. Go on my website, CryptosRUs.com. Right here, Ask George a question. Submit your question. I want to have some good questions. People do really enjoy the segment, and I'm going to put out clips of them, like in short form. Make sure you do so. Submit. And make sure you check out the dashboard. DCA portfolio here. Greed and fear index. We're in fear now, unfortunately. That doesn't look good. Heat map and all the tokens. Utilize this, guys. The new learn page. Free Discord. I do see a lot of people join in. People are conversing, having conversations. This is free. You don't have to pay anything. Make sure you join. And then also this boot camp for trade hunters coming up pretty soon. So there's that. Got the merch store. I don't know if you guys saw my mega Bitcoin chain and the watch and the hodl sign. You know, you guys need to utilize tools for the exchanges, wallets, everything. I'm very proud of this new website. That's why I'm showing it off. So events, nothing under events. Yeah, another reason why Scott Bessent and Trump and everyone else wants the Stablecoin Act to pass. It finally clicked when he tweeted it out. They think that, you know, by driving more people to stablecoins, it's gonna drive more people to dollars. Basically, that's the reason why. Right? They want to be at the forefront. They want to make sure that whatever stablecoin becomes like the new major stablecoins, and existing ones are all dollar pegged basically, and that's, I think, it's the real motivation. They want to make sure that some stablecoin that gets popular isn't based on yuan or yen or euro or whatever. They stay pegged to the dollar. There's a big auction to... Oh boy, Trump is lashing out again. Trump says stupid Powell probably won't cut rates when Fed meeting ends Wednesday. Yes, we know that. Calling Powell stupid is not going to make him cut the rate. He needs to treat him to a nice dinner, maybe make some promises because his term ends next year. You know, finagle the situation rather than just come out and say, well, you're stupid. This is how they got Gary Gensler out. You know, he resigned prematurely. I'm pretty sure BlackRock or someone offered him a pretty good job afterwards. Daniel, I do not. I have an IT degree. I only learned more about money over the last few years in crypto winter from 2022 till now. And I'm by no means economic professor or expert. But I've just been studying Bitcoin and why so many people believe in it and why it's so important. And I forced myself to learn more about the economy and how money works. And the more you understand about money, I really mean this. It sounds like a cliche, but the more you learn about money, the more faith you have in Bitcoin. It really, that's when it comes down to it. Before, it was just more faith-based. Now it's fundamentals, obviously, the adoption, but really, because I learned more about money, and the system that we have can't possibly be the system that we have, but it is. That's just how bad the system is. It's so irresponsible, and yet we let it continue because no one can agree on anything. Good, a little rebound. Little rebound back to our levels from yesterday. You know, Powell might not say anything really bad. He could say something surprising. You know, Trump just called him stupid, so maybe that's motivation. 7%. I'd say more like 50%. Eventually, all these banks and financial advisors will say, you got to put 50% of your wealth in Bitcoin. By then, you know, Bitcoin's over $1 million each. So you don't want to wait for that to happen. Levi, I don't really have a joke. I only know 2 jokes and I told them before, so I'm not going to repeat them. One is a really corny dad joke, and one is a dad joke too, but it's better. Well, Powell called Trump a name. You know what? That would be funny, wouldn't it? I never, you know, politicians are always like nice to each other. But, you know, during the Q&A, if someone says, "Hey, Trump says you're stupid because you won't cut the Fed fund rate," it would be hilarious if Powell's like, "Screw it, I don't care anymore." And says, "You know what? Trump is the one that's stupid. He doesn't understand money. He doesn't understand what I'm going through." You know, if Powell just has a rant out of nowhere, that would be hilarious. But I don't think he could do that. Well, I mean, because he doesn't even care. He's not going to get a job. He can't get fired, and he can't, you know, he's not going to get another job after this. But it could crash markets. That's the only thing. Whatever he says could crash markets really hard. So he has to be very careful with what he says. Levi, that's such a that's such a corny joke. Oh. I heard Gina. I don't cover the FOMC meetings anymore, but I heard Gina is no longer in the front row. They demoted her and they moved her back. You know, if Trump could fire Powell, he would have been fired already. It's just because he can't. And you know, Trump's been asking courts and stuff for permission, uh, but he doesn't have the authority to fire Powell. If he could, he would have done so already and brought in someone else that would just agree to rate cuts. Anyways, let's call it a day until tonight. Tonight's DCA day. But in a few hours, we will get this FOMC decision. And we will hear what Powell has to say. It's not going to be easy now that he has to consider, you know, the war and what it could do to inflation and prices and everything else. All right, guys. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Have a good one.